Hi, I'm Bruce Vanderschel. I'm one of the Luthiers here at West Music Company. We have a couple guys that work on violins and cellos. I do mostly the fretted instruments. So we thought it might be interesting for people to see a refret job on a Gibson guitar. And the customer has requested that all the frets be replaced, and certainly needs it. And it was kind of an interesting job. Already done before I ever saw the instrument, in that the binding has been cut through and the frets extend to the edge of the fingerboard. Personally, I would have inlaid the frets inside the nibs of the binding, but that having already been done in the past, and the customer really didn't want the binding replaced, so I'm going to refret it the way it was refretted previous to my getting the instrument. I've already removed the first fret, and the reason I did that was so that I could measure the tang size and the size of the slot and get an appropriate fret wire that would suit the customer's needs and the style of music he wants to play, as well as have the fret stay in the wood, which is very important. So I'm about ready to get started on it. I'm going to remove the rest of the frets, clean up the slots, dress up the fingerboard a little bit, and then we'll get to the point where we're actually putting frets back in it. Once the frets are in, I'll lightly top them and shape the ends, and at that point I'll be done after I get them all polished up, and then I can put strings back on it and set the guitar up. So let's get started. The reason I'm using solder is because it helps the heat flow out along the fret. It heats the fret up quite quickly. I try to avoid getting the ends of it too hot, but I try to work quickly enough that it heats up quickly, but I pull the fret out quickly. The solder and the heat help kind of break any glue seam that there might be in case the frets are glued in, and it sort of expands it. And then as it starts to cool, the fret really pulls out a lot easier, and there's minimal chipping. I did get a little bit of chipping right there that actually looks like old chipping, but I'll fix that so that it's invisible when I go, before I actually put frets back in the guitar. This board is chipping quite a bit as I'm pulling things out. And I don't know if it's just how they cut the fingerboard, or the fingerboard's old and it's brittle. But I'm going to have to do a fair amount of patching. A lot of it I'm patching as I go. But I'll leave this till tomorrow. I'll come back and I'll dress everything off so it's as smooth as it can be, but there will still probably be chips. My chips will show up a little easier at that point. Then I'll do some patching. Then we'll make sure the slots are open. We'll accept a fret properly. Sometimes you have to kind of go back and forth a little bit with patching, opening up the slots, patching again, just kind of getting it all worked up so basically the fingerboard looks nice and pretty and it's intact, and yet all the slots are open so they'll accept a fret. Whenever a little chip comes out, it's best to patch it immediately. So I'm using ultra thin super glue. Just working it in and around and under the chip, and then that'll harden up and it'll be good to go. And once it's all dressed off, it'll be perfectly invisible. Okay, so the step I'm at here is prepping the board. As I pulled out frets, I went along and I kind of tacked down any big chips that came out. I'm dressing that all off level to smooth things out. I'm using a fairly aggressive sandpaper. It's 220. Eventually, though, it'll be progressively finer and finer grits until it's quite smooth. And then with the final step of steel wool. But right now we're just getting to where we need to see where we're at. So I'm going to see what chips I have left to patch. Then I'll go back over and open the slots and make sure that they're ready to accept frets. Sometimes you get a little more chipping as you go, so you kind of do a back and forth of fixing chips, making sure the slots are open, fixing any more chips if there are any, and just getting the board all prepped so that frets will go back in. So that's where we're at now. This is kind of the first sanding to get everything level. I'm using a radius to block. It's a 12-inch radius fingerboard, so that's what I'm using. And then I'll go back over and, like I said, they'll fill any remaining chips, and I'll just continue on. Now that I have the fingerboard all prepped, smooth, and the slots are opened up, and they're sized to the fret tang, I'll be able to cut the frets roughly to length because they're going to overhang since the binding's already been cut through. And then the next step would be putting frets in the guitar. Now I'm going to bend the fret wire to match the radius of the fingerboard, and once I have that done, I'll cut it into the appropriate size pieces, because each fret is a slightly different size, and then we'll start putting frets in it. Right now we're at the point where I've got the frets all driven in, and this part of the board seemed to be brittle. There are some cracks, which little tiny chips along the frets kind of came out as I drove the frets in, but just a few minor ones. So I spent some time touching that up so it would look real nice. This side has been trimmed, cut off. It's not all the way flush yet, so I'm going to come along this side and do kind of the trimming, get it kind of in the ballpark with in pin pliers, which in cutter pliers, which have been reshaped some. Then I'll dress everything off flush on both sides. Lightly top all the frets. I'll shape the ends of the frets, and then I'll sand and buff up the frets to their final finish. Then I'll clean up the fingerboard and then make a decision as to how to do the final conditioning. I do different things on different guitars. Some I just oil if we want just a nice natural look. And this piece of ebony has some nice brown streaks in it. So I'll probably see what the customer would like. I can stain it jet black if that's what he would prefer. It can be waxed, and min wax makes a nice product. It's like a dark paste wax, which would kind of be in between the jet black stain look and just an oiled look. So that's an option too. Once I have all that done, then I can put strings on the instrument. I'll put the pickup back in, and then put strings on the instrument, and then tune it up to pitch and see where we're at. It's very common that with nice new tall frets, a worn nut will show up and he wouldn't have any open notes. So it may be that I will have to replace the nut as well. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And if it does need new nut, I'll make a new nut for it and then do the final setup on the guitar, and the guitar will be done at that point. Okay, now the project's all done. It's been refretted. Put strings on it, the strings that the customer requested. Went through and set up the guitar. It's all set to go. Plays very nice. Again, I'm Bruce Vanderschel. I work at West Music Company in the Coralville store. The number here is 800-373-2000, or if it's local, it's 351-2000. My extension is 1254. Again, just kind of as a recap, I kind of wish the binding hadn't been touched because it had been cut through. Had that not happened, I would have done an installation just similar to Gibson's, and you wouldn't have been able to tell that it had ever been refretted, unless you're really good at spotting those kind of things. But without changing out the binding, it's a pretty good clean job, and it's all set to go.